Title Boxing Club of Rock Hill is proud to be a sponsor of the Man Listens show. Title Boxing Club Rock Hill offers dynamic boxing and kickboxing classes for all. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TBC Rock Hill.
The Man Listen Show is also brought to you by Conversate With Us Radio. Conversate With Us Radio, your urban radio show podcast. A fun place to look for advice and a different perspective on life, love, relationships, sports, and politics. One conversation at a time. You can find us on Facebook at Conversate With Us Radio and on Instagram at Conversate With Us. Don't forget to capitalize the V in Conversate.
I gotta kick this thing off. Yeah. Can I kick it off? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Listen. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Marv B, and you're listening to another episode of the Man Listen Show. Want to go ahead and introduce the crew. Arika, what's up with you?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. Hotep, my sister. Lab, what's up with you?
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm doing good. All
right. And C, what's going on?
Hey, what's good?
Everything's good. Glad to be back with the crew. So on today's show, we're going to talk about something that's been dominating the news, Ayesha Curry. So Ayesha Curry went on along with her mother-in-law and her two sister-in-laws on Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk. And it was a show where they opened up about a lot. But one of the things that sparked a bit of a controversy was Ayesha talking about the lack of attention that she gets from other men. And what sparked that was they were talking about how the attention their husbands get from the groupies, from female fans. And Ayesha opened up and she said, you know, this may sound, I'm paraphrasing, she said, this may make me sound a little bit weird, but, you know, Steph gets all that attention from his fans, but me as a woman, you know, I don't get the male attention. And, you know, I would like to feel that. And people pounced on that. Even though she said, hey, this is me talking about one of my insecurities, social media just pounced on it, and it's really, you know, took her through the ringers. There was a bunch of memes made about what she said and people dropping her opinions. A lot of criticism was thrown her way about that statement that she made on the Red Table Talk. So we're going to talk about it today. See, what were your thoughts about it when you heard the quote and people's reaction to it?
Well, I think as far as people's reactions, they blew it out of proportion. I think all women, even the most secure women in the world, like want to feel wanted and desired. So what she said really wasn't that off the wall. I mean, that happens a lot when women become mothers. I know she just recently had like 3 kids somewhat close together. Happens a lot of times, you know, based off of women's signs, how they grow up, their environment, past relationships. So it wasn't uncommon. I don't think she probably should have said it at that Red Table Talk for the world to see and hear. But I mean, we're in a day and age where I read a lot of stuff every day on social media that I don't think, you know, you should tell the world. You should tell your close friends in your own unit. But I mean, again, just like, you know, back to the point, just saying that she wanted to feel wanted. I mean, that happens a lot with women. I see women that I know on social media that are married and probably would never physically act on, you know, cheating, but they still like post those risky photos, you know, just to get like 500 likes, even though, you know, they probably would never cheat on their husbands or their boyfriends, whoever they're with, but they really like, I mean, they look forward to getting likes on social media. And I think that's kind of what she was saying. But, you know, on the other hand, the number one reason women do cheat is because of lack of attention. But again, just based off of that red table talk that I see, I don't think Aisha's to that point. I think she was just being a little too vulnerable and just saying how she feels. Steph gets attention. I mean, he's a professional athlete. He's a billionaire, so he's going to get more attention than, just the mom who has to cook and show with the three kids. I mean, so.
Yeah, I definitely think, it's about validation. And I think, of
Mhm.
course, I'm not a woman, but obviously, I think any human being wants to feel validated to some degree in whatever, whether it's their thought process, how smart, intelligent they are, how they look. It's just natural to want to be validated and acknowledged as somebody who is considered something to admire. So, when she talked about, I'm a little bit insecure about this, and you mentioned it, she had the three young children. I think all of that was just sort of weighing in on her, and at that red table, they're known for making themselves vulnerable. I mean, you've had people talk about drug addictions, talk about the negative relationships they have with their parents, fights between friends. Jada's talked about disagreements she's had with her friends. Very personal stuff is shared on that red table, and I just think that the demographic that Ayesha has through Steph in terms of social media, because they are very young, the demographic that they have wasn't mature enough to really look and see, this is somebody who is making themselves vulnerable, and, we shouldn't persecute her for being honest about her feelings. We want all out access to our athletes. We want all out access to celebrities, but we only want it when they fit the mold that we have for them. They're not allowed to be
Right.
down. They're not allowed to be vulnerable. They're not allowed to say, "Hey, I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z," for the most part. So I do think she probably didn't expect the backlash, but she was just being honest and speaking her truth in the moment. I mean, Erika, what do you think about it?
I think that I've lived through so many of those similar experiences, so I understood what she was trying to say right away. I think that people don't understand how difficult it is to continuously define yourself and redefine yourself, especially when your priority in life is being a wife and a mother, because you're still an individual and a person too. And pretty much in life now, she's looked at as Steph Curry's wife or Riley's mother or whatever. But, she's still Ayesha, period, anyway. And then it's like, so like when I was in high school, I was always the nerdy kid or whatever. And so one day I decided to walk up to Walmart and get this risque outfit that I wore up to school one day because I was going to be cute and get some attention. And I got all kinds of attention. I got all kinds of male attention that probably wasn't for the best. And then I got all kinds of female attention, which led to me getting jumped, me getting in fights, getting kicked out of school. They were spreading rumors about me. But I think that it's things like that where you said people aren't mature enough to understand that sometimes when people are trying to find themselves or define themselves, they're expressing those insecurities. And instead of being like, hey, I kind of understand where you're coming from, or maybe somebody being like, hey, you're much younger than the rest of us because you're 14. I was 13 or 14 when I was a freshman. I don't remember. But instead of being like, hey, little kid, this isn't the way to do this. There are better ways to, not be the nerdy little kid or to get some attention or whatever. And I think it was very brave of her to be open and honest and vulnerable and then share that type of, insecurity that people probably wouldn't expect from her. And I think that was probably good for a lot of people who are experiencing that to see that they're not by themselves.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think it's hard for any NBA wife, I would imagine, to be in that position that Ayesha is in. You look at it, NBA players have come what, 1 in a million? What are the odds of being an NBA player? Whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that at
Yeah,
best.
at
Best,
best,
right?
at best, right? And even the ugliest dude in the NBA can pull a fine chick, because he's an NBA player. But if you compare that to the number of, beautiful black women who are throwing themselves at these guys and the access that they have, it could be. I would probably, if I were in her shoes, feel a little bit insecure as well. And and you never really hear. If I thought about this, you never really hear Ayesha talked about in a sort of sex symbol type of way. You never really hear people talking about
at all.
how fine Steph's wife is. You hear people talk about how fine Steph's mama is, and Steph's mama in her 50s. So I imagine,
she's pretty.
yeah, she's very pretty, and Aisha's a pretty girl too, But you never hear, never hear anybody talk about Ayesha in that way. You should talk about Mama Curry in that way. So I'm sure a lot of that played its part. I mean, but Lab, what do you think, brother?
No, I think that is a huge factor as far as the mom, and then also I remember when Steph's sister was coming up when she was in college or something playing volleyball. I would see pictures and people would comment on her being very attractive, and then Doc Rivers' daughter, the same thing. She played college volleyball, I think, or basketball, one of those two. So they've always been in the spotlight, receiving attention. Any all over social media or people posting pics and things like that. And Aisha's not really from that same in that same mold, so she never has received that attention. I think a little bit is she's almost like the outsider looking at the rest of the family. The rest of the family is athletes, are used to the attention and things like that. I think she just wants some of it. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. She just wants to, it almost would make her feel more like one of the girls or more like she fits in.
But my thing is this, though. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't follow her, extensively, but she talked about it on the Red Table Talk. She has her own cooking show, right?
Right.
And I admit, I'm a LeBron fan, respect the king. So I'm not always the biggest Golden State fan, and that's
right.
That's a shocker because I grew up a Golden State fan. Lab can vouch for me when they was terrible, and they was the late night late night game on the NBA League Pass. I was watching. I was watching the Warriors. Lab and I went out to LA and saw them play, but Ayesha, she's pretty successful in terms of NBA wives, in my personal opinion. So it seems that she's somewhat solidified an image. Maybe it is derived from Steph and Steph's success on the court, but it's still her own. So, I was a little bit shocked, and see Rika jump in on this. Even though she has established her own lane, is it shocking to you that she still feels this way about, I guess her looks and male attention?
It's not shocking because, again, I think all women go through that at some point in their life. And then, like you said, she has her own cooking show. But let's be real. Like, Laugh made a point about the sister and the sister-in-law playing volleyball. I mean, everybody knows what volleyball players look like, tall, long legs, and just the shorts, period. No one's really, posted a picture of the woman with the cooking apron on with the air fryer as a sex symbol. So I think it's different. Yeah.
Right.
But let me ask you.
Got no calendars, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't think it's the same thing. But let me ask Marvin and Lab, let me ask y'all a question, not even just like on a celebrity level, so not just for Steph, but do you, as, both of you being married men, do you feel like it's your obligation to make your wife feel obligated? Like, do you think Steph plays a part in this at all?
Is it our obligation to make her feel desired or wanted? Is that what
desired,
you mean?
Yes. To make your wife feel desired and wanted. Do you think any of this falls on Steph at all?
Yeah,
that's a good question.
I
do.
I
think a little bit of it does.
Yeah, I do. Because when you don't give your spouse, well, I'm gonna speak from a male perspective. When you don't give your wife that attention that she needs, and if you don't make her feel loved or feel like she is the sun that you revolve around, you really are setting it up for her to try to find that somewhere else or to learn how to live without it. And I think it goes both ways as well. I mean, I'll just let you know, most men, if a woman comes and said, "Hey, handsome," hey, inside, maybe he might play it cool on the outside, but inside he's grinning from ear to ear. So people want that validation. I mean, it's real. I mean, people want that validation. And I think, that just kind of goes back to how unfair I think folks were being towards Ayesha Curry with her being vulnerable in that moment and talking about her feelings about, not feeling desired, not feeling wanted.
And to piggyback on that as well about Steph, she mentioned during that he's just he's a nice guy. And so he's talkative, and to him it's nothing, but to her, he's showing these other women attention. He's allowing them just the opportunity to have access, potentially for something to go wrong. And so he's not the type that's gonna, say, hey, you need to step off or do anything like that. He's going to entertain the conversation, and to her, I think that probably is a source of contention.
I think maybe it's not necessarily he's going to entertain like somebody trying to holler at him, but I think.
But just in general, she doesn't, and she doesn't know what the conversation is.
But what they said in the show was that Steph is such a generally nice guy that he doesn't see that people are angling toward him. He's just looking at it as oh, I'm just talking to a fan and it's all good. But he doesn't see how they're trying to find that crack to get in between them. So I mean, but let me ask you this: take away Steph and Ayesha Curry. Do you think if a regular woman, if a regular woman said, "Hey, listen, I'm with this guy. I'm with my husband. He's a handsome guy. He gets a lot of attention out and about. He's popular in social circles. He's very successful, and I want some of that attention too. It'd be nice if I got some of that attention too." Would that be okay for a woman to say that?
I think that's true. I mean, I don't think it's okay or not okay. That's true. I think everybody wants a little attention from time to time.
See, my thing is, I think it's a little unfair to put that kind of responsibility on a spouse, because insecurities are personal and you have to own that, and you have to own responsibility over addressing those and overcoming them. Because see, for me, after I had my son, like, to be blunt, I used to have like big breasts when I was younger. Then I had my son and now I don't have any. And in my mind, that was the thing that made me sexy, because I'm like a little skinny, small person. And so that was my, I don't have a fat ass or, I'm sorry, or, big butt, none of that stuff. But so it's like,
ass is permissible on the
okay.
show. Go ahead.
But so to me, that was my thing. And then when I didn't have that thing, I went through a very difficult time period, like coming to terms with how I look now. Like, I didn't even buy bras that fit my regular size until maybe like 5 years ago. That's how in denial I was. My son's 14. Like, he about to be 15. Like, it really took me a long time to really accept the fact that they were just not coming back. And this is my life now. And
that's something. No, I say that's something that as a guy, especially, I don't think we'll ever be able to fully relate to, or even a little bit, honestly, because our bodies don't change like that. Like when a woman has a child, it totally changes everything about them. And I think sometimes we're not conscious of those changes that go on, not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, and everything like that.
But I think our body does change. We become fat, we become bald. But the thing about it is, as a man,
it's not as drastic. It doesn't happen as drastic.
As a man, you can, but as a man, you can still pull.
That's true though.
As a man, you can still pull them. Because I'm making this money. It's a man's world, like James Brown said. But but to your point, I agree. We don't have to deal with that like women do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, and then it's like, even though I've been dealing with that for the past 15 years or whatever, and I know that that's my insecurity and that my husband still thinks I'm sexy how I look now, still in my mind, we still have like these little issues. Because when this Ayesha situation first came up, I tagged him in a post and I was like, don't this sound like me 2 weeks ago? because when we had my brother's 40th birthday party, I'm like running around trying to find some outfits. I was like, I feel like I always look dressed down and all the other girls in our booths always look sexy and I want to look sexy this time. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you always look sexy. I was like, shut up, you just saying that. I always dismiss him, but like he is always hyping me up. He's like my number one fan and I'm always like, whatever. I need for everyone in the world to think I'm sexy. That's what I need. But it's my own personal insecurity, and I know that, and that's something that we just know that for the past 15 years, I just feel like, I don't look like how I think I should look in my mind, and I just don't want to look like how the world decided I should look after kids. And I also don't want to pay for it, so I'm just stuck somewhere in the middle.
See what you think about that.
So I think like a lot of factors play into that. Like with me, just like just like on a personal level, I think once I like started creeping up on 40, and then I gained a couple pounds, I think that really, I don't know. I don't know if I could really say like I started to feel insecure, but I definitely started to be more conscious of it. I think prior to that, I just kind of had the carefree attitude, like nothing ever really bothered me. And then kind of like Steph too, I think a lot of times I'm overly friendly, or I was growing up to where, I may be having a conversation with someone and then all of a sudden they say, so when are we going out? And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought we were just, cool. So I wasn't really, I'm not even,
Right.
really even aware of what their thoughts are. So I guess I never really dealt with the wanting or needing attention until here lately. Once you start getting old and then you start gaining weight and then, I start looking at my gray hairs. And so I do I think now here lately, I do go through those different times where, I want to feel wanted and desired. But, my husband does a good job. He always tells me, I look good, or, even if I have my hair in a bun and I have on sweats and I'm watching a basketball game, he always but it's sometimes in Ayesha's defense, sometimes, you want to see it or hear it from somebody else other than the person that, like Erika said, you kind of, you think that they're supposed to say it or they're saying the right thing. So I think that's more or less what she was saying. I bet Steph probably does, compliment her often. And she just, I don't know. I don't know what she's thinking.
Well, I'm kind of, Steph seems like a real nice guy. And
Yeah,
they market their relationship, which is, somewhat annoying to me. I think like the NBA kind of markets their relationship.
They got a new show too or something. I saw a commercial for.
Oh, really?
But yeah, it seems like their interaction between each other seems genuine and it seems loving. So you never know what's going on behind closed doors. But I just don't. I wouldn't think that Steph is like a neglectful husband. So
Right.
I guess part of this is do I still have it? I want to know, do I still got it? Can I still pull somebody? And she talked about a lot of different things. I mean, they opened up a lot because you looked at Ayesha, you looked at Mama Curry. What's her name? I don't even know her name. What's her first name?
Sonia.
You look at
Sonia.
You look at Sonia Curry. You look at Doc Rivers' daughter. I don't know. I definitely don't know her name. They all talked about being biracial as well. And how
all of them,
how that sort of not fitting in, at least the younger ones, at least the daughter and the daughter-in-law say, well, I kind of didn't know where to fit in. I wasn't black enough. Something. The what we hear from biracial people often. I wasn't black enough for the black people, and I wasn't white enough for the white people. But Mama Curry, Sonia, she said, look, when I was coming up, you didn't have a choice. You was black.
Right. 1%. She's like one drop. 1%.
Yeah, one drop. I was coming up, you didn't have a choice. You were black. And they talked about all those insecurities. And I just, I applaud them for being open and honest in that way. I don't think that they were ready for the response and the vitriol that they got from social media. What are y'all thoughts about that? I mean, how people did them. I mean, there was a lot of memes put out, and I admit some of them were funny. I shared a couple of them, but I think that people were just unnecessarily harsh towards Ayesha. What are y'all's thoughts?
So were they making memes about what she said about, wanting the attention, or everything she said?
So
because I really didn't see it a lot.
So like one of the memes, like
I didn't see too many memes either.
Okay, well, one of the memes was you remember the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air episode where Ben Vereen told Will he was gonna come back and pick him up, and Will told Will told Uncle Phil why he don't want me and he was crying.
Hold on. Coincidentally, though, today is like the 25th anniversary of that episode. They said I saw that today is the 25th anniversary of that episode. It's real.
So they photoshopped Aisha's face on top of Will Smith's body and said, "Why you don't want me no more?" So they did that.
That's kind of funny.
It was funny, man. I mean, there was a bunch of them, and I don't want to go too far into it because I don't condone how people were dogging her out. But yeah, there was a lot of memes shared about Ayesha. I mean, but what does that say about people? What does that say about folks on social media that would look at somebody's moment of vulnerability and attack them for that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Black people are comedians by nature. I mean, so they're quick. And now, one thing Ayesha did say on there was, when she was having trouble when she moved from Canada to the U.S., she said, I was always, known, or I always knew myself as a Black woman. And I think if Ayesha would have been a white woman and she made those same comments, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. I think Black people are just quick to make jokes and to blow stuff up, and that's just what they did.
I saw somebody on Twitter the other day said, "What I love about Black people can joke about anything," and they said, "What I hate about Black people, they joke about everything."
Exactly. Yeah.
And it was, I saw that on Twitter the other day, and I was like, "Dang, that's so serious though," because something like this, you do see it. Somebody's trying to be sincere, and it's everybody just going in on them. And some of them do be funny, but at the same time, you got to give people the opportunity to express themselves and be themselves. Otherwise, you run the risk of people going into a shell and just saying these cliche answers and giving you what you want to hear, and you really never get to know them or even relate to them.
I think that people are internet bullies because I swear so many people that say slick stuff on the internet that would never in a million years say nothing like that to my face. And I think that the internet has just given people a platform to be bold and say stuff that they know they ain't got no business saying.
Without a doubt.
And if you wouldn't come say that stuff standing right here in my face, then you ain't got no business saying it. Now, if you think we cool enough that I could take your joke, then great. If it's a little risque, you don't know how it's going to go over, err on the side of caution. But people are so quick to try to put each other down. It's almost like the new self-esteem builders. Well, she's weak. Well, you have no idea what it's like to compete every day. And not that she should be competing for her husband's attention, but there are millions of women willing and ready to take her spot at any given moment. And some part in the back of her mind is, I got to keep myself up. I got to stay a step ahead of them. It doesn't matter how cool they are, how much fun they have. Being in a family and being in a marriage is work, and it's hard work. And sometimes people give up and they tap out. And if you're going to be analyzing what you could have done differently. And so sometimes you're like in a little competition. I mean, there was a period of time in my life and in my marriage where I went and bought a cookbook because somebody at his job was a cook, and I felt like she was bringing too many fancy dishes to the job. And now I'm at home making 4-course meals. I'm over here making deviled eggs, scalloped potatoes from scratch. And then this fool goes to the job and tells her one of the things that didn't come out right, and then comes home with her tips for how it could be better. I was like, okay, see, all y'all want to die. I was like, everybody want to die today.
Yeah.
But in his mind, he's like, we just making good food over here. In my mind, I got to cook better than her, look better than her,
so
move better than her.
So your husband got a little Steph Curry in him. He not paying attention.
He wasn't even worried. He wasn't even thinking on that level.
Yeah,
for real.
Yeah, no, he just like, what are you talking about? I was like, bring me back some more advice from her, and you go see what I'm talking about. This 4-course meal gonna be your last 4-course meal.
Yeah.
Right. better take this fried bologna to work.
Yeah.
Man, I was making stuffed mushrooms, like all kind of stuff.
Boy, you better.
Boy, it was a good cookbook too. I wonder where that cookbook is. It didn't last forever, but there was a period of time.
But back to what we were talking about. I think what Erika said is so on point. People rely on the anonymity of social media, Twitter or Facebook, to allow them to just say whatever is on their mind in any type of way, and they don't consider the type of hurt that they could cause with what they're saying. Now, I admit that there's some people, I laugh about what they say, when they roast certain people on social media. Celebrities, yes. Celebrities, I think that you kind of make yourself open game. I don't really think that wives and children are open game unless you're in this situation where Ayesha kind of put herself out, as somebody who is somewhat of a celebrity. But I still think that it was wrong for people to take it the way that they did. I mean, it got kind of mean-spirited towards Ayesha, and I'm not really for that because, I'm a person who is definitely outspoken on social media, and when somebody is willing to put their thoughts and their opinions out in the open, you leave yourself open for people to take pot shots at you. There's been things that I've been very loud and vociferous about, and a year or two later, I've rethought about it. I'm like, you know what, I was wrong on that. And if I talk about that, people will say, "Oh, but back in the day, you was such and such and such and such." And my response is, yeah, because I was brave enough to talk about how I felt at the time, and I'm brave enough to talk about how I feel differently now. And I think that I just want to applaud Ayesha because I think we missed the opportunity to really look at what she did and highlight the bravery that she displayed by talking about her feelings in that way. I think if people were more willing to share what's going on with them, we wouldn't have all this, fake materialism and people dying to try to get the attention that they're trying to do. If we could talk about it and then become more secure with ourselves, we'd be better off. So that's just my thoughts about the whole situation. Anything else y'all want to talk about on this one?
She just want to be on Meek Mill wish list.
Right, y'all talking about her. Y'all talking about her thought process. She talking about her thought process. That's what she worried about.
Man, it's tough. It's tough in these internet streets. Don't show no weakness. They gonna come at you tough, boy. But
they smell blood in the water real fast.
Man.
And they fast with it too. Like whoever these cats with these Photoshop skills, man, I'll be like, man, they on it quick. Like
they own it and they don't have jobs.
Black Twitter.
Right. So
no, they just be sitting at a lot of people work from home. They be at work on the clock doing that, just at the crib.
Yeah. So anyway, man, I think we talked about enough. Make sure you check out the Man Listen Show. Make sure you check it out. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Man Listen Show. You can listen to the show on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. Make sure you check us out. Subscribe, like, follow the show. Share it with somebody. I mean, we're doing some good stuff with this show. We really want to try to keep the conversation about, Black America, current topics. We want to keep the conversation going forward and share good ideas. And we'll be having some new ideas coming to the show as well. So we appreciate your support. We'll holler at you next time. Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye.
Man, I wonder how many people sent a DM to her with that ABC song, Ayesha. You remember that song back in the day?
Yeah, probably a few.